إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا يا رب العالمين. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him Azza wa Jal. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us His pleasure in this dunya and hereafter. Allahumma ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. We continue with the explanation of the booklet of Shaykh Ibn Baz rahmatullahi alayhi. Important lessons for every Muslim. We reached the last lesson that the Shaykh put in the book actually. And so we have parts of it, and there we'll be talking about the matters that are related to the deceased, when the person who passes away from this world life and what is related. We talked about ghusl of janazah, we talked about the kafan, shrouding him, and what is supposed to be done, and mistakes that are done. And the other part that the Shaykh continued when he said, those who are entrusted to wash, pray over, and bury the deceased, and who has the awlawiyya, and who is more deserving to do so. The Shaykh said, the sixth matter in that case, in the matter, is the most deserving to wash, pray over, and pray the janazah, and bury the deceased is the person mentioned in the wasiyyah, in the will. Then the father, then the grandfather, and then the closest relatives from the paternal side, and this is for the man. As for the woman, the most deserving to wash her is the one mentioned in the wasiyyah, in the will, then the mother, then the grandmother, and then her closest female relatives. And the spouses, the husband and the wife, have the right to wash each other. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu washed his wife, and Ali radiallahu anhu washed his wife Fatima radiallahu anha. So the explanation of this, the Shaykh mentioned the matter who is entrusted to wash the deceased. And he said, first to start, the most deserving to wash is the one who, the deceased, he mentioned in his wasiyyah and will, that I want this person to wash my body. So he has the most right that the person who is mentioned in the will, even the Salat al-Janazah. Maybe he wrote a will that this person prays Salat al-Janazah, and this person takes care of his burial. So this is the right of deceased, so his will is given preference over others. He said, then the father, then the grandfather, and then the closest relatives from the paternal side. This is for the men. After the father and the grandfather, it goes to the son, then the grandsons, then so forth. It goes to the brothers, then to paternal uncles. He said, as for the woman, the most deserving to wash her is the same things like the men, for the one who is mentioned in the will, then the mother, the grandmother, and then her closest female relatives. First comes her will, and if she doesn't mention anything or anyone in her will regarding this particular matter, it goes to her mother and grandmother, then the daughters and granddaughters, then her closest female relatives, which are sisters from both or one parent, then her aunts, paternal aunts, and then her maternal aunts from the mom's side. He said, and the spouses have the right to wash each other. So it's allowed. Some of them, they don't allow that, but actually the dalil is thabit, authentic, that Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala, he washed his wife. And Ali radiallahu ta'ala washed his wife Fatima. So that's the dalil and the evidence for that. The husband has the right to wash his wife when she dies, and she has the right to wash her husband when she dies. She doesn't become some that they don't go with this opinion. They say that now he or she, they became like ajnabi anha, like they are not related anymore, so he or she has not the right. But it's not true. So they have the right to wash one another if they pass away. So that's what they mentioned in there. Then we start tonight, inshallah, the description of the Salatul Janazah, the prayer for the deceased. The Shaykh, he said, 7, the description of the prayer for the deceased. We repeat many times when the janazah is done, but here, inshallah, we're going to go a little bit more in details and explaining, especially the dua that we make for the deceased. Beautiful dua. There are how many raka'at are in Salatul Janazah? 4? No, it's not 4. I got you. So we're talking about takbirat. That is rak'at. This is different because the other janazah is ajib, and is strange. It's not the same. Like zero, you can consider one or zero. It's between that. Yeah. Yes. So we have 4 takbirat. Huh? One rak'at, and obviously the body, the structure of that is that we have no ruku and no sujood. No ruku, no sujood. We have only takbirat and dua and Quran, whatever is recited in the music. So there are 4 takbirat normally. So the Shaykh says. Al-Fatiha is recited up to the first takbir, and then another short surah is recited. Or if 1 or 2 verses are recited, no problem. That is good. This is based upon an authentic hadith narrated by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. After the second takbir, he says the salutations upon the Prophet ﷺ, just as it is during the prayer in the tashahhud. Then he says the takbir for the 3rd time. Then he says the dua, Allahumma ighfir li hayyina wa mayyitina wa shahidina wa ghaibina wa saghirina wa kabirina wa dhakarina wa unthana. This one dua. اللهم من أحييته منا فأحيه على الإسلام ومن توفيته منا فتوفه على الإيمان اللهم اغفر له وارحمه وعافيه واعف عنه وأكرم نزله وأحسن مدخله واغسل ماءه بالماء الثلج والبرد ونقه من الخطايا كما نقيت أو ينقى الثوب الأبيض من الدنس اللهم أبدله دارا خيرا من داري وأهلا خيرا من أهلي اللهم أدخله وزوجا خيرا من زوجي another narration الله وأدخله الجنة وعيذه من عذاب القبر وعذاب النار وافسح له في قبره ونور له فيه اللهم لا تحرمنا أجره ولا تضلنا بعده. This dua we're going to go over that, but the translation is that, oh Allah, forgive our living and our dead, those who are present among us and those who are absent, our young and old, our males and our females. Oh Allah, whoever you keep alive, keep him alive in Islam. Whoever you cause to die, cause him to die with faith. Oh Allah, forgive him and have mercy on him. Keep him safe and sound and pardon him. Honor and place where he settles and makes his entrance white. Wash him with water and snow and hail. Cleanse him of sin as a white garment is cleansed of dirt. Oh Allah, give him a house better than his house and a family better than his family. Oh Allah, admit him to paradise and protect him from the torment of the grave and the torment of the hellfire. Make his grave spacious and fill it with light. Oh Allah, do not deprive us of the reward and do not cause us to go astray after this. Then he says the takbir for the 4th time and says one taslim to the right. It is preferred to raise the hands with each takbir. That's what the words of who? Shaykh al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi. We're going to go over the explanation. So the 7th method that's with the explanation is the description of the prayer for the deceased. The Shaykh mentioned and said there are 4 takbirat. This is based upon the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. فَخَرَجَ بِهِمْ إِلَى الْمُصَلَّى وَكَبَّرَ أَرْبَعَ تَكْبِيرَات. And he took them out, and the deceased, to the place of the prayer and observed 4 takbirat. 4 takbirat. And this is the most well-known narration and the most well-known opinion among the scholars. There are numerous hadith which affirm that there can be more than 4 takbirat. Okay, 4 takbirat is the least. There are many which affirm there can be more than 4 takbirat. One of these, Abdurrahman ibn Abi Layla, he said, كان زيد بن أرقم يكبر على جنائزها 4 وإنه كبر على جنازة 5 فسألته فقال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يكبرها. Zayd ibn Arqam used to say the takbir 4 times during the funeral prayer, but once he said it 5 times. So I asked him about it. He said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did this. So, as regard to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have authentic hadith that he did 4, and authentic hadith, which is this one, that he did how many? 5. But there is authentic narrations too from the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala, especially by Ali radiallahu anhu, that they did 6, they did 7, and they did 9. That's the most. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. Now, the most well-known is the 4. That's why this is what is used most. So that's why to be upon the sunnah, sometimes you can do it 5, sometimes you can do it 6, sometimes you can do it 9, sometimes you can do it 7. Just to see the sunnah, to make it, but it's not that was the norm. The norm usually you used to do, even the Prophet, we say we have 4. That's why Zayd ibn Arqam, most of the times he used to do it 4, but one time he did it 5 in order to let them establish the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So they say that, oh, this is something strange. No. The same thing. So it is a report, even for the taslim, we're going to go over that for the taslim. One taslim, like for example, Saudi Arabia, they don't have taslim. Let's allow for taslim. This and that is authentic from the Prophet ﷺ. Then he said, the Shaykh is saying that Al-Fatiha is recited after the first takbir and then another short surah recited. Or if one or two ayat are recited, this is good. And it doesn't matter to be the whole surah. And a couple of ayats, no problem. This is based upon the authentic hadith narrated by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. Talha bin Abdullah ibn Auf radiallahu anhu said, صليت خلف ابن عباس على جنازة فقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب وسورة وجهر حتى أسمعنا فلما فرغ أخذت بيده فسألته فقال سنة وحق. I offered the funeral prayer behind Ibn Abbas. He recited Al-Fatiha and another surah, which he recited loudly such that we could hear him. When he finished, I took him by his hand and asked him about this. He said, it is sunnah and the truth. So he wanted to teach them that this is sunnah to recite a short surah too, because some people, they might not know that. So that's why he recited loud. Doesn't mean that you have to recite loud in the Salat al-Janazah. The Shaykh said after the second takbir, so that's the first, Surah Al-Fatiha and a short surah from the Quran. After the second takbir, he says the salutations that he says upon the Prophet ﷺ, just as he said during the prayer in the Tashahhud. This is because it has been not narrated that he has its own specific word. So it is said with the affirmed wording of the Tashahhud in the prayer, as with Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallayta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. So this is the second takbir. After the third takbir, they're saying the takbir for the third time, he says the dua that we just mentioned. Allahumma ighfir li hayyina wa mayyitina wa shahidina wa bayyina. He mentioned the whole dua. This dua actually, which is so beautiful, the dua that the Shaykh mentioned is collected, he mentioned, from 3 ahadith. Now, all of this dua that the Shaykh mentioned is collected from 3 ahadith, not one, 3 ahadith. So that talking about that subject. He said, Allahumma ighfir li hayyina wa mayyitina. Oh Allah, forgive our living and our dead, those who are present among us and those who are absent, our young and our old, our males and our females. O Allah, man ahyaytahu minna fa ahyihi ala al-Islam. Whoever you keep alive, keep him alive in Islam. And whoever you cause to die, cause him to die with faith. So this is one dua. But the Shaykh, he continued. He didn't stop say that. This is one dua. One dua that it came from hadith. Hadith, that's hadith of Abu Hurairah. Now, that's the other hadith is from Abu Hurairah. After he mentioned another dua. O Allah, do not deprive us of the reward and do not cause us to go astray after this. لا تحرمنا بعد ولا تحرمنا الأجر بعد ولا تفتنا بعد. Then this has been narrated in Sunan Abi Dawud, while the other narration is from the hadith Abu Hurairah. As for the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, O Allah, forgive him. Allahumma ighfir lahu warhamhu wa'afihi wa'afu anhu. It's another dua which is long. It's beautiful dua to have mercy on him, keep him safe and sound, and forgive him, honor the place where he settles, and make his entrance wide, wash him with water, snow, and hail. This is like more specific for the person himself. The other one is more general for everybody, us and them and all the Muslims. And cleanse him of sin, of the white garment is cleansed of dirt. O Allah, give him a house better than his house, and family better than his family. O Allah, admit him to paradise, protect him from the torment of the grave, the torment of hellfire. This is found where? In Sahih Muslim, from Hadith Auf ibn Malik. The other part of his dua, he mentioned, O Allah, make his grave spacious and fill it with light. وَنَوِّرْهُ فِي قَبْرِ. This is dua that the Prophet made for Abu Salam. So that's why he combined all of these. Just reflect. Let us, for a moment, couple of moments, reflect in this dua. So how beautiful this dua. Actually, one of the Sahabi, when he heard this dua, the other one, when he heard that I wish that I was the dead. He said, when he heard the Prophet making the dua, which is not the first one, the other one, Allahumma ighfir lahu warhamhu. So that tamannaytu an akuna, I wished I was the deceased that the Prophet is making dua. So that's such a beautiful dua for him. So the first dua, Allahumma ighfir li hayyina wa maytina. Oh Allah, forgive our living and our dead, those who are present among us and those who are absent, our young and our old, our males and our females. Oh Allah, whoever you keep alive, keep him alive in Islam. And whoever you cause to die, cause him to die with faith. How great is this dua? Sure, but how great is this dua? There is one deceased person in that, normally. Might be more, but there is one deceased person who is being prayed for. But this supplication is for who? For all the Muslims, subhanAllah. For all the Muslims, the living and the dead, those present and those absent, the young and the old, the male and female. It's a like comprehensive dua for everybody. He mentioned Islam when referring to the life of the person, while he mentioned Iman when referring to the death of the person. Allahumma man ahyaytahu minna fa-ahyihi ala al-Islam wa man tawaffaytahu minna fa-tawaffahu ala al-Iman. O Allah, whoever you cause him to live, make him live what? Upon Islam. And whoever you cause him to die, make him die upon Iman. He doesn't mention Islam. Why? Because Islam is referring to the life. You still have life to work. Life of the person. Iman at the moment of the death. This is because Islam is action. The Shaykh says Islam is action. And whoever is alive has the opportunity to perform actions such as prayer, hajj, zakat, charity, and other than that. As for the person whom death has approached him, there is no place for actions at this point. There is only correct Iman and sound Aqidah for him to die upon. So that's why he mentioned فَتَوَفَّهُ عَلَى الْإِيمَانِ. For this reason, he said, whoever you keep alive, keep him alive in Islam, which means upon the righteous actions. And whoever you cause to die, cause him to die with faith, which means correct and sound Aqidah. The other dua, which the Sahabi said, I wish I was the person, that Allahumma ighfir lahu warhamhu. Oh Allah, forgive him and have mercy on him. What is forgiveness and what is having mercy? Forgiveness is to conceal the sin of the person and to pardon them for their sins. While mercy is deeper than that. Mercy is to obtain that which is hoped for after the removal of that which is feared. That's why when you make dua for a young boy or girl, we don't make dua for forgiveness. We make dua for forgiveness for the parents, but for the boy or the girl, for the babies, children, we make dua for having mercy. They have no sins. But mercy is like something deeper and wider in meaning than forgiveness of the sin. Conceal forgiveness, that's why al-mighfar in Arabic is called like the helmet, for example. It protects and stops you, conceals your head. So that's why forgiveness is that, oh Allah, conceal my sin. Don't expose my sin and pardon. Wipe it away from me. Allahumma ighfir lahu warhamhu wa'fihi wa'fu anhu. Keep him safe and sound and pardon him. And that's a dua, which means to keep him safe from the punishment and pardon him for his shortcomings. Honor the place where he said, Allahumma ighfir lahu warhamhu wa'fihi wa'fu anhu wa wasi' mudkhalahu wa akrim nuzulahu. Honor the place where he settles. This is a place prepared for the guests. So this dua is requesting for his place, his abode, to be noble and honorable. وَأَكْرِمْ نُزُلَهُ. Yeah, in the grave and in Jannah too. وَوَسِّعْ مُدْخَلَهُ. And make his entrance spacious, the grave. This means to make his grave wide and spacious for him, and to likewise grant him a spacious place in paradise. Mudkhalahu, the entrance for him, means both in grave and the hereafter. وَغْسِلْهُ بِالْمَاءِ وَالثَّلْجِ وَالْبَرَدِ. Wash him with water and snow and hail. These three affairs contrast to the heat of the sins, so they cool and extinguish the flames of sins. Know that every sin has its heat. That's why, like, to the extent of this, wash him with water, snow, and hail, all types of water. wash him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and cleanse him of sin. وَنَقِّهِ مِنَ الْخَطَايَا كَمَا يُنَقَّى الثَّوْبُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الدَّنَسِ. Describing, and cleanse him of sin as white garment is cleansed of dirt. This means to completely cleanse him like a white garment is cleansed from dirt. The white garment is specified because when it is cleansed from filth, it is more obvious than other colors. And you see white, you can see any dirt right away in it. Any stain, you can, it's obvious and you can see it. But other colors, maybe it's not the same. So that's why the Prophet gives the description of that. وَأَبْدِلْهُ دَارٌ خَيْرٌ مِنْ دَارٍ. Give him a house better than his house, meaning enter him into paradise, the place of your honor, Daru Karamatik, in exchange for the home he left in this worldly life. وَأَهْلًا خَيْرًا مِنْ أَهْلٍ. And a family better than his family. This is to exchange for him a better family, meaning in nobility and attributes. As for nobility, then Allah will compensate him with better in the abode of honor. As for attributes, this is by returning youth to those who have grown old, and turning defects and unattractiveness in appearance into a flawless, beautiful appearance in the Jannah. Another narration is وَزَوْجٌ خَيْرٌ مِنْ زَوْجٍ, and spouse better than your spouse, and in Jannah, paradise. Admit him to paradise and protect him from the torment of the grave. أدخله الجنة. O Allah, admit him to Jannah, paradise, and protect him from the punishment of the grave and the torment of the hellfire. Then he asked Allah to enter him into paradise and save him from the fire, and to save him from the trials of the grave by protecting him from its evil. As we know, Munkar and Nakir, and the trials, the grave has its squeeze. Nobody will be safe from that squeeze. Even Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh, radiallahu ta'ala, you know, Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh, that the Arsh al-Rahman ihtazza li mawti. The Arsh of Rahman shook, it shook because of his death, subhanallah. How he was, radiallahu. But still, he felt the squeeze of the grave. The shaheed, the same thing. You will feel the squeeze of the grave, but it's like a bee sting, just a little bit. But the rest, everybody according to their deeds. Subhanallah. So this is how it is. Like, may Allah Azza wa Jalla protect us from the squeeze of the grave. And obviously for the believer, his grave will be, Hadith Bara ibn Azib, it will be widened up until he sees as far as he can see, and he sees his place in Jannah, in paradise. It is as far as the horizon he can see. If somebody say, "Oh, we don't see it. This is a different world." And how is it? So we pass by those graves, subhanallah. Some of those graves could be gardens from the gardens of paradise, and some other graves, awliyadu billah, could be pitfall or the ditches from of Jahannam. A'udhu billah. The same, we just pass by, same grave from outside. Some people are being punished in that grave. Some people are having na'im and bliss. Subhanallah. And make his grave spacious and fill it with light. This is to grant him a vast grave and to place light in it. Some people that have light in the grave, some people that have fire, a'udhu billah, till the day of the judgment. And then the day of judgment, they enter in hellfire. May Allah protect us and save us from Jahannam. Do not deprive us of the reward. Do not deprive us of the reward. This refers to the reward of the deceased, for the deceased, including dua, prayer, and giving the deceased their rights, and showing patience, and seeking the reward for showing patience during the death of the person. And do not cause us to go astray after this. Do not allow us to be tried after his death and thus fall into misguidance. Sheikh Abdul Razak, he says, subhanAllah, this is a great, pure, great, comprehensive dua, which contains supplication for the deceased, the dead person, to receive pardon, forgiveness, safety, well-being, honor, and goodness. This dua is said during a great time, the time of his funeral prayer, a time when it is recommended to go above and beyond in seeking mercy for the deceased and supplicating for him, because he has been brought before his Muslim brothers so they can make dua for him and ask Allah to forgive his sins and conceal his shortcomings. This is a supplication that will benefit the deceased by the permission of Allah. This is from the evidences of strong mutual love and compassion among the believers. The believers are brothers, and they should have that strong and mutual compassion and love among them. The Sheikh said, then he says the takbir for the fourth time and says one taslim to the right, and it's preferred to raise the hands with each takbir. That's the word of the Sheikh. This has been authenticated from the action of who? Ibn Umar radiallahu anh. He would raise his hands for each takbir of the funeral prayer. From this we know that he took his action from the Prophet ﷺ because he would not have done so from his own opinion. That's the opinion of Sheikh Ibn Baz and the opinion of the Sheikh who is explaining, and the opinion of Al-Hanabila and Al-Shafi'iyya. The Ahnaf al-Malikiyya, and Allah knows best, the most correct opinion is that we don't raise our hands after each takbir, only with the first takbir. Why is that? There is no authentic report from the Prophet ﷺ that he would raise his hands in the takbirat al-janazah except for the first takbir. Talking about Prophet ﷺ. And this is the issue of ikhtilaf. So the scholars have disagreed, as we said, even the madahib, even the other scholars. So what is authentic? Yes, as the Sheikh mentioned, he mentioned that from the action of Ibn Umar. So that's why the group of the scholars who took this as a sunnah, because they know Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala, he was among those who are the keenest to follow the sunnah of the Prophet. So they said he must have seen that, and that's why he's doing it. But we don't have anything authentic from that. So any opinion you can take here, because it's a khilaf, obviously, and a difference of opinions, and both of them, they have their own dalil. But to say from the Prophet ﷺ, we have no authentic, except that he used to raise his hands in the first takbir. Then second, third, fourth, he used not to raise the takbirat, to raise his hands for the takbirat. And that I go with that opinion from other scholars. And the same thing is for Salatul Eid too. Salatul Eid is the same khilaf, same difference of opinion, because it's the same. Ibn Umar who does that. There is no authentic hadith. The Prophet used to raise his hands even in Salatul Eid or Salatul Takbir after the first takbir for the other takbir. So that is the case. Even for taslim, as we said, taslim, it's allowed. There is authentication and that you give salam only in the right side, or you give salam in both sides, as we do it here. That it comes because, as we know, the giving salam on the right side, that's a wajib, the obligatory thing. Giving salam on the right side, and the left side, even in the normal salah, is sunnah, recommended, but it's not a part, or it's not from the pillars of the salah. I have explained that before in salah. So there's no problem with that, inshallah ta'ala. Said when regarding the dua, this is normal for men and women. So you just switch like pronouns to make it for a female or a male in there. If it's a child, we don't have a specific dua from the Prophet ﷺ. We have some words of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. For any dua you can do, especially you can make dua for the parents of the child as it's passed away. But there is some short dua that some of the Sahaba used to make it. So if you do that, no problem with that, inshallah. Some fuqaha they came, but there is no authentic from the Prophet ﷺ to be done any specific dua for the child and from him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But this dua is normal for men and women. And this is very important, as this is the right of the deceased upon us to make dua. The other thing is the salatul, it is sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to have, as we always mention, 3 lines. This came in the hadith. It's good to have the 3 lines, even if these lines are not full. Normally we have to fill our lines for salah, but salat al-janazah is an exception. So it is good to make it 3 lines, even if the lines are not full. There is a hadith that whoever his janazah is prayed by 40 people, that's inshallah ta'ala, this is witness for Jannah, to be for people of Jannah. Another narration, 100 people, that's for the Jannah. Obviously there's plenty of reward to pray Salat al-Janazah and to follow the burial. And the great reward to pray Salat al-Janazah is that you have what is, you get qirat. pray Salat al-Janazah, only prayer. If you follow to the burial, qiratan. It's a 2 qirat. When he was asked the Prophet, what is the qirat? He said, like a mountain of Uhud. 1 qirat, like a mountain of Uhud. The one who follows to the burial is like 2 mountains, like 2 mountains of Uhud. All that's a reward for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Salat al-Janazah is, what is the ruling of Salat al-Janazah? Is fard, is sunnah, is what? Fardu kifaya. Fardu kifayatin. Fardu kifayat, which means a communal obligation. If some people from the jama'ah, from the community, they pray Salat al-Janazah, then the obligation falls from the rest of the people, is done. But if nobody from the jama'ah, they don't pray Salat al-Janazah, then all of the community are sinners regarding that because they left the Salat. So that's why it is called fardu kifayatin. إذا قام به البعض كفى عن الباقين. If some they take care of that, then there is no sin on the rest of the people. This is called fard kifaya. So we stop here, inshallah ta'ala, and continue next week. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give us life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us upon the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and make us of those who follow the commandments of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allahumma ya Rabbal Alameen, faghfir lana dhunub wastur alayna ayub. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kunna min adh-dhalimin. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qulubana ala dinik. Wa ya musarrif al-qulub, sarrif qulubana ta'atik. اللهم أنجي عبادك المستضعفين في كل مكان يذكر اسمك الكريم. اللهم أنجي عبادك المستضعفين خاصة في غزة وفلسطين وفي السودان وبورما وكشمير في كل مكان يا رب العالمين. اللهم كن لهم ولا تكن عليهم وانصرهم ولا تنصر عليهم. اللهم ارحم موتاهم وتقبل شهداءهم وداء جرحاهم ويا رب العالمين أطعم جياعهم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا رحمن يا رحيم. اللهم عليك بأعدائهم، اللهم عليك بأعدائهم يا رب العالمين، الصهاينة الظالمين يا رب العالمين، خذهم أخذ عزيز مقتدر، اللهم خذهم أخذ عزيز مقتدر، اللهم أرنا فيهم يوما أسودا كيوم عاد وثمود يا رب العالمين. اللهم يا منزل الكتاب هازم الأحزاب مجري السحاب اهزم الأحزاب يا رب العالمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. صلى الله على نبينا محمد وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.